What is going on, everybody? Welcome to a prosperity tip or my prosperity tip series. I've decided to make this an ongoing series, and I'm actually calling it my podcast. Right? I know this sounds weird. I'm on a video. You're like, how is this a podcast? Well, YouTube recently launched a podcast feature where it's a video podcast. So this is actually technically my new video podcast name. So it's Prosperity Tips with Mike Hobbs. And today I'm going to be talking about dun 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 debt freedom. Okay. So that's the topic today. So I'm excited about this because this is something that I've actually not been the expert on. Okay. I'm very far from an expert on debt freedom. In fact, my very first business, I started just dumping a bunch of money into it. I went through a bunch of real estate courses, from Robert Kiyosaki and all these people, and I was like, I just need to get in debt. I need to get in debt. So I went and got a line of credit on my house for $90,000, and then I went and got a bunch of credit cards with like $20,000 limits. And then I just maxed it all out. Right. I don't know if anyone ever got in that situation, but I literally just maxed out my credit cards. I maxed out the line of credit on my house. I just spent money like crazy, and I was not debt free at all. And in fact, it ended up bankrupting me in 2010. So I am definitely not the expert on this, but I do know a lot of experts who are, very talented with this, including my business partner, Paul Hutchings. So let's give him a shout out. He became debt free, and also in his real estate business too. So he has no debt on his investments. He has no debt in his life. He has no mortgage. Some of the things that you don't learn uh, from these financial gurus, they don't ever teach you this, right? They don't teach you to get out of debt. They teach you to get in debt, and that actually that led to me going bankrupt by following all these real estate gurus' advice. So it's definitely wasn't the best path. So that's why I want to talk about it today. I'm going to talk about a strategy that I'm personally going to implement over the next 12 months and even longer. So I'll talk about that here in just a minute. But anyway, who's on with me? Type your name and where you're from in the comments. I will give you guys a couple shout outs. So let's see here. We've got Nick in the house. What's up, Mike? Mike T. Nice. All right. So we got great subject. Wow, crazy, but been there, done that, and it's a pain to pay it off, but focus is on key. Nice. We got what? So you're in West Virginia. Thanks, Nick, for the comment. We got Tim Curley in the house. Thank you from North Carolina. All right. So with that, let's just get into and if you have any if you want to give your feedback, and let me just ask you, would you like to be debt free? If you would like to be debt free, type debt free in the comments. And if you have debt, if not, if you are debt free, then say something like already debt free or something. I'd like to know that. Bill's in the house. Danny says, great morning. Tuning in from Iowa. Okay, cool. Nick wants to be debt free. Okay, so let's get right into the subject. I don't want to be here, keep you guys too long today. So we're going to be talking about debt freedom, and I'm going to actually share my screen. I think this will be a good to lay it out on the actual screen. So here's the strategy that I'm going to be trying out over the next little bit. And so the first step in this strategy is to and I'm not going to be specific with these numbers. These numbers can be different for everyone. So for example, if you made like if you make $5,000 a month, this number is going to be drastically different than if you're making $20,000 a month. Does that make sense, everybody? So this number can be anywhere from $100 all the way up to $10,000, right? It really just depends on your goal. But what you want to do is you want to take an amount to fulfill this plan. So you're going to come up with that amount. And a couple ideas is it could be 10% or more of your income, and this is based on how big your expenses are. So if your expenses are 5 grand a month and you make 7 grand a month, then technically you could probably get away with putting $2,000 here. Does that make sense? If your expenses are 2 grand a month and you make 10,000 a month, then you have $8,000 that could potentially go right here. Now, obviously, you want to leave some room. You want to come up with a sheet, write down all of your expenses, write down all of your income that's coming in on an average basis every year or every month. And then you figure out this number. Okay. And again, if you want to make it 10% of your income, that's fine. I read a book called Automatic Millionaire when I first got online. And one of his rules was pay yourself first. And I really loved that concept, and then you pay everything else after that. So I loved that concept, so I'm going to be implementing that concept with this plan. So step 1 is figure out that number that you can put towards this plan of debt freedom. Okay, so this is your debt freedom plan. Okay, so what number can you put toward your debt freedom plan? And once you come up with that, sorry guys, I got something in my throat. But once you come up with that plan, you'll put that number here, and here's 2 ways to increase this number. Okay, there's 2 ways. Okay. The first way is once you come up with all of your expenses, okay, then what you can do is you can lower them. Okay, so you can cut things out. Like there was a cut. I actually, when I was coming up with my own debt freedom plan personally, I cut off over $400 a month in expenses. So I want you guys to get that. Like, think about that. I literally just deleted $400 a month in expenses when I was doing this plan, and I did this plan over the weekend. So on Saturday and Sunday, I sat down and I just laid it all out, my numbers exactly, and I came up with this plan, and I cut out over $400 a month in expenses. Now I don't know about you, but even just investing $400 a month into this plan would drastically increase your debt freedom date. Okay. And that's huge. Okay. So anyway, so I cut off, so you can increase this number by number 1, decreasing unneeded expenses that you don't need. Now, business expenses, that's not something that I decrease. Like, I know business needs to run, so I don't decrease that kind of stuff. I'm talking about things you don't need. Okay. Things you don't want. Or and maybe if you have a lot of debt, maybe there's things you can sacrifice now and get it back later. Does that make sense? Like, there's certain things that you can't sacrifice, like maybe like certain, like maybe working out, going to the gym. You know what I mean? Like you should probably have that in there, if unless you have a home gym. Like, I have a home gym. That's one thing that I did is I canceled all my gym memberships. I was paying $135 a month for CrossFit, and I just went and bought a bunch of equipment for my house, and that actually lowered my expenses because now I don't have that $135 a month payment. I just took a few $1,000s to get that, and over time that will pay me back, right? So anyway, there's just different things you could do. So that's one way. The second way you can increase this number is just to make more money. Okay, so if you don't have a lot of money to put towards this plan, you can start a home-based business. And my favorite resource for that, obviously I'm a little biased because I co-founded the company, but if you want to go to seekprosperity.com, you can see the business that we have put together for you, online business that will help you increase this number. Okay. And even if you just made an extra $400 or $500 a month, which you will see is fairly, you can do that fairly quickly within our home-based business, seekprosperity.com, then that will increase this number dramatically to get towards your debt freedom goal. So anyway, that is the debt freedom plan, the first part of the plan. So the next part of the plan is, okay, now that you have this number, what do you do with it? Do I just double down on all of my debts? Right? Do I just go nuts and pay it all down? Well, the thought of that for me, and I think everybody's different. Like I'm sure Paul, my business partner, he's probably gung ho to just do that, just pay down the debt. For me, I was a little bit. I've always been just a little bit like, I don't know if I want to pay off my mortgage. I don't know if I want to double down and just put everything into debt because I don't know, just the thought of just dumping all my money to that, and it almost just feels like I don't I don't have any, like, gain, you know what I mean? It's more of just like I'm getting rid of, like, something, I'm not gaining anything. So, one way that I got motivated about this plan was I allocated 2 different amounts. So, I took this number, and here's what I did. I put 2 different things. So, I'm putting 10% of that number into some kind of savings or investment. And nowadays, saving, I don't know if you knew this, but I went with a company called M1 Finance, and I'll leave a link below so you can see what the link is if you guys want. I'll put it in the description. And they have a 5% high yield savings account. They call it a high yield savings account. 5% for just a savings account, right? So, I mean, nowadays you actually get decent interest rates on your money. Um, and then or some kind of investment. So another investment that I've been experimenting with is Fundrise. That's another it's like a real estate investment type thing. So that's just me personally. I'm putting some money into, some like it says 10%. I'm putting it towards like, some kind of investment, some kind of thing that will gain something over time. Now, you could argue the point, well, why don't you just put that into the debt and get that off even faster? Well, for my sanity and my motivation, I would be happy with this because this number is actually not small for me. Like this is a pretty significant number that I came up with, right? Because I probably make a lot more money than most people. So this number is pretty significant. So this 10% is actually a lot, right? And so it actually excites me to build up this kind of like my own portfolio, I guess you can call it. My own savings portfolio to actually getting some kind of passive income in the future. So I actually am excited about the number that this came out to be, and I'm not going to share any specifics here in this video. Maybe in a later video when I show my results, maybe that'll be something I can talk about. But then I'm going to take 90% of this number, and that is going to be paid off debt. So let me give you a couple things on the debt, like what to start with. Obviously, with the debt, I'm I don't have a lot of like crazy debts, right? But if you have, and I'll give you guys some, like I have a huge mortgage because I live in an area that that cost of housing is high. So this is why it's taking me a lot longer to get out of debt. But I would start with I would start with all, credit cards first, you know, like pay those off, right? Now, one benefit of the credit cards, paying those off first, is it kind of acts as like a I know this sounds weird, but it's almost like an emergency fund in a way. Because one cool thing about paying off all the credit cards first is you actually technically still have that buying power if you run into some kind of like absolute emergency during this plan. You know what I mean? And you absolutely like maybe you had to go to some emergency surgery or or something like that. Like at least when you pay off all the credit cards, you still have that balance left to use it if you need it, right? So that's why I think that everyone should pay off those first. That's the first thing. It's like your available credit. This will actually shoot your credit score through the roof, by the way. Like when we paid off ours, it shot our credit score over 700 like immediately. And so I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. So that is definitely the first thing. And I think the reason for that, by the way, um, is because it gives you like that, like on your credit score, there's a thing called like your utilization. And so if you have like all your stuff maxed out, that actually lowers your score. But if you have under, they call it 10% utilization, it really skyrockets your credit score. So paying those off first is going to actually skyrocket your credit score. So anyway, that's the first thing. And then obviously any other high interest debts first, next. So like if you have a car payment, if you have if you have any just in any personal loans, car payments, things like that, that's what that would come next. Okay. And then last is your mortgage. So I would save the mortgage for last. So pay mortgage last. Now, why is the mortgage last? Well, it's usually your lowest interest rate, but you actually end up paying the most interest with it. It's kind of an interesting concept, but the reason I think these are better to do first is because they're usually higher interest, and it's and again, like for the other reasons, like I said, you get that available credit just in case you need it. But then you can double down on your mortgage because think about like just add up all your credit card expenses. So let's say you're paying like minimum payments or whatever the payments are on your credit cards, and you have like $200 here and $200 there and $100 there, and though that stuff adds up. I don't know if you've ever ran the numbers, but that really adds up fast. And then if you have a like a car loan or something, like car loans, if you have a car loans, those are like I don't know. There was a survey. Someone said that I don't know if you knew this, but there's a lot of people with $1,000 a month car loans. I just don't. I can't fathom that. Like that's just insane. But but yeah, so if someone has a $700 a month car payment, they can once that's paid off, like think about it. Once you pay the credit cards, once you pay the car payments, now you have all that money, and what you do is because you have this money, this amount here, right? And you're just doubling down and you're putting that amount toward the 90% right here. You're putting that towards all of your debt all at once, right? And so once you pay this debt off, now you can put more onto the next one and then more onto the next one. It's kind of like a snowball effect. And then once you get to your mortgage, now you're doing like $1,000 a month payment or something on that sucker or more. You know what I mean? Because you were doubling down on that, and then that will get you to your debt. And I don't know how long this will take. And obviously, the more that you make, the more money you make, the more you pay off. You continue to take that amount and just pay off the next one and then raise it and raise it and raise it until you have everything paid off. Now, why would you pay your mortgage off? Let me just throw that question out to you guys. What do you guys think? One thing that I always resonated with on this concept is peace of mind, right? So peace of mind. Some people say never to do that. But here's the thing. When things crash, and so like when housing market crashes, or you put money into other investments, a lot of those other investments, those are not guaranteed. In fact, if you go to any financial planner in the world, they're going to make you sign a written thing saying you can't blame us for any losses that you have in the stock market, or you can't blame you. And I don't know if you've ever seen like the forex market. That is just nuts. Like there's people out there they're throwing these disclaimers out there like don't put anything you can't afford to lose. And why do they say that? Because 99% of the time people lose money in it. That's why they say that. So for example, if you put all your money into your debts, like the 90% into your debts, that's guaranteed income, guaranteed. See, guaranteed. So you know how they always they always preach in the investment world, don't put anything you can afford to lose. You can lose it all. In fact, I've even seen disclaimers where they're like, you could literally lose your entire investment. And I'm like, okay, what can I put my money into that will not lose the investment? Guaranteed your debts. You are guaranteed that income. It's guaranteed because you are not losing any money when you pay that off. You are literally getting rid of so if you have a 30% interest rate on a credit card, I challenge you, go look at your credit card right now statement and see what the percentage is on it. It's usually like 29%, right? Unless you like have a really good credit score or something. But basically, that's 30% per year income. You realize that you're losing out on. I don't know any like I've been doing a lot of research lately on the stock market and even real estate. And a good investment is 10% or more. That's a good investment. So if you're making 10% in the stock market and 10% in real estate per year on your money, that's a good investment. Well, these things are usually above 10%, except for the mortgage might be like right now it's like 7% or something like that, right? You guys can tell me what the current rates are. But bottom line is you are guaranteed that's a guaranteed 30% on your money. Okay? That's why you want to get rid of these as fast as possible. And then the mortgage, that is, you know, the reason you do that last is because that's usually your lowest percent. So and the highest amount, right? So anyway, that's guaranteed income when you pay off your debt. And then guess what you can do now? Now that you have your debt paid off, you can now turn this to 100% and this to 0. And now your investment income and savings is gonna skyrocket. Like, think about that for a second. It's going to absolutely skyrocket. You're gonna be doubling down. You can be putting money into real estate. You can be putting money into the stock market if you wanna do that. You can be putting money wherever you wanna put it to gain the 10% interest that I was talking about, like a good investment, and doubling down on your investments as soon as you paid off the debts. And I think that's my personal plan to do that. I've already allocated a certain number for this plan. So the 10% and the 90%. And I'll let you guys know once I actually get to the point where I get debt free. And that is my goal over the next little bit. Again, I've never been the greatest person with debt, right? But I am a lot better now because of the mentorship that I have. And I've always been the kind that just like when I make money, I go spend it on cool things like computers, cameras, microphones, just whatever I want to buy. And then one day I was like, you know what? I need to be a little bit better with my money because it's not smart to use debt, and it's just way better to be free, right? Because I am financially free as far as passive income goes when I'm making on like business income. Like I'm making way more than my expenses, obviously, from business income. But where I'm not free is the debt. And so that is my goal over the next 12 months is to become debt free, including my mortgage. And then I'll keep you guys in the loop. So anyway, let's go to the comments. Does anyone have any thoughts or tips you want to share in the comments? Type it right now while I have you on. Otherwise, we're going to call this a wrap. So here we go. Danny says, great morning. Awesome. Paul says, woohoo. And let's see, free from liabilities and debt. Debt free, definitely the goal. And if you got value from today, let me know in the comments. I would love to know your guys' feedback. Yes, debt free is freedom. Let's go. Excited to hear my plan. Awesome. Thanks, Paul. Good morning. And yeah, and anyway, let me actually that actually reminds me, I like this. The reason I like that 10% going into the investments first versus the all of it towards debt is because I like the concept of paying yourself first. That was a concept I learned from David Bach when I first got online, and I just like that concept. Like, it just makes me feel good, right? That I know that even though that 10% could pay the mortgage down faster, I just like knowing that 10% of it is going towards, like, some kinda growth at the same time, you know? And that just makes me feel more excited to do the plan for sure. Um, I I don't know if I mentioned that, so I just wanted to clarify that. Yes, sir, you're here. Rita says, "Thank you for your service. We're going to follow this plan too, debt free. Here we come. Awesome." And yeah, I hope I put it in a, like, before this video, I was shooting this video. I was like, I don't know, should I go into specifics? Should I go into numbers? And so Paul and our mastermind here, we mastermind a plan to keep it generic to where everybody can follow the same plan. So if you want to. Goal of mine, debt free. Awesome, Daphne. Hello from Wisconsin. What's up, Dan? All right, Lori Sue. Thank you. I'm writing notes. You will do this. All right, cool. That's huge. Debt free sounds good. Amazon Prime. Okay, I'm not sure what that is. Okay, dumping all money into is kind of a scary thing. Well, it's one cool thing about it though is we're not dumping all of our money. We're just dumping the amount we come up with originally. So that's like usually a certain percentage of your check or your money that you're making, or and then you come up with that number first. And so we already have that number allocated. Now, obviously, the bigger that number, the better. Like, obviously, it would be nice if you had that number like 10 grand, right? So, but if you don't make that much money, then you can't have that big of a number, of course. But so you just scale it to wherever your income is at. Ace says, "Good morning." Jumped up. M1. It's Yeah, I really like M1. It's cool because I was actually coming up with a dividend plan, and and you can create a pie. Like, it's pretty cool in that service where when you put money into it, it just automatically invests into your pie of stocks that you pick. So I think that's kind of cool. Obviously, it's a totally different subject, but it's pretty cool. Never owned a credit card. All right. Well, good job, Dan. Debt free. All right. Debt free, and you can build a retirement income. Nice, because you'll lose your money, right? 10%. Yeah, I think I don't know if you were talking about the forex thing, but I almost think they should change their disclaimer in the forex industry to only invest what you want to lose, not what you can afford to lose. It's like what you want to just flush down the toilet. That's what they should have the basically, it's like only put the money that you would like to flush down the toilet. That what should be the new disclaimer for the forex industry. Power of compounding interest when you start investing. Numbers and math. Ah, that's funny. Daphne. Okay, there's only a couple more comments here. Yes, finally did value. It's a great number and realistic. I always get value. Thank you, Dan. Rudy says, you said 12 months goal. Is that only for you? Yeah, so the 12 months, that's my plan. Is I just putting that in my major definite purpose or whatever, is I'm giving myself 12 months and I'm gonna be increasing my number, if that makes sense. So, for example, I'm not going to just leave it at one number. If I make more money that month, because that's what's cool about business, is as when you build a business, a lot of times your income goes up every month, right? So my number is going to be increasing as my income increases, which means the number is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. That goes towards the debt, the 90% number. So that's my goal, is to pay off everything in 12 months. But your goal might be a little bit longer depending on how much income you're making, right? So again, there's two ways to do this plan: make more money or reduce expenses, right? or both. Like I'm doing both. I reduced and I'm trying and I'm making more money and I'm reducing at the same time. Does that make sense? So that is the goal. Louis says, "Good morning, buddy booty." Sorry. Some information is valuable. Most people don't have financial literacy. Probably why many lottery winners go bankrupt. Yeah, I mean, honestly, if people just had a simple plan like this, I think it would. I think it would go really far. Nice. Thank you, Booty. Okay, that's all the comments. Thank you all for showing up. Thank you for all of what you do. If you want more resources, you can go over to my website, seekprosperity.com/links. I lay out all my resources there. And if I'll anything I talked about in this video, I'll put in the description as well. But thank you for showing up. Thank you for being with me on my new podcast series, Prosperity Tips. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye for now.